So there I was at Scotiabank Arena last Tuesday evening, taking in a basketball game between the Toronto Raptors and the New Orleans Pelicans. I still can't believe that nickname, by the way. Pelicans? Anyway, the evening was notable for two reasons. First, the Craptors suffered their worst loss of the season, getting slaughtered 139-98. It was ugly. Speaking of ugliness, the other notable thing about Tuesday's game was this. I think I witnessed the most disturbing and despicable event to occur in a sporting arena in Hogtown history. Namely, the security guards for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment reimagined themselves as members of the Gestapo. There's no other word for it, folks. These thugs went around the arena intimidating and harassing Jewish fans and their allies. And what was the crime that these fans committed? Well, there was no crime. They were wearing sweatshirts emblazoned with the phrase, "Free our hostages." That's it. They were told to remove the offensive apparel or get the hell out of the building. Now, MLSE has a sad history of ejecting fans calling for the release of the hostages that were brutally apprehended in Israel last October 7th. And on this night, when those Jews refused to bend the knee and exit the building, well, the MLSE Gestapo raised the ante. They began carding Jewish fans. I'm not making this up. Just like a soccer referee handing out a yellow or red card to a player who committed a personal foul. Here's what the card read in part. By the way, I was given one too for the heinous crime of asking impolite questions. There it is. Top shelf where they keep the peanut butter. Here's what the card read in part. Quote, part of the Code of Conduct policy prevents messaging that may be deemed divisive and political in nature or related to a foreign conflict. Your signage and or clothing is in violation of this policy, and you are requested to remove or cover it so that it complies with our venue policy. We are happy to provide you with an article of clothing that may assist you with this request. Failure to comply may result in ejection or a legal notice of trespass from the premises, end quote. Can you believe that? MLSE's apparel SS officers wanted to eject these fans. They even threatened to charge them with trespassing. Oh yeah, some trespassers, eh? Do you know the average price of a Raptors ticket is $169? A bottle of water will set you back $6. A single can of beer is almost the same cost as a 12-pack down at the beer store. So when you think of it, being trespassed out of this clip joint, well, that might be economically beneficial. But given that this is not a political message, why were the security guards hell-bent on having the "Free Our Hostages" message covered up? Well, the first part of copy on the card states, quote, MLSE is committed to ensuring our venues are inclusive, welcoming, and a safe space for all, end quote. Safety, eh? How is a phrase on a shirt a safety issue? Let's analyze this. Maybe "Free Our Hostages" is triggering for a Hamas supporter. Maybe that Hamas fan will act out violently, be it throwing a punch or a projectile. But instead of coming down on the violator, MLSE is all about re-victimizing the victims, it would seem. I briefly interviewed one fan. Here's what he had to say.
Are you getting a red card like in
Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
The policy.
So I guess that we're offending people.
Oh, really?
And we're creating something that's not inclusive or welcoming.
Now, here's the deal, especially if one is Jewish or if one is an ally of the Jewish community, the phrase "never again" is not some temporary marketing slogan that was created on Madison Avenue, such as Nike's Just Do It or McDonald's McLovin' It. Never again means that the horror of the Holocaust, which took the lives of 6 million Jews, is never going to happen again. Full stop, period. Maybe the Holocaust is ancient, forgotten history to the MLSE executive team. Maybe these shysters have bigger fish to fry, like hooring out their sports uniforms to don corporate logos ranging from Sun Life to TikTok to further pad MLSE's coffers. But again, never again means forever. Oh, and by the way, MLSE, you know those pro-Hamas thugs that you're going to bat for? You really know how to pick winners, don't you? These people on our city streets, and maybe even within your own sacred Scotiabank Arena, are openly chanting for the genocide of the Jewish people. I've witnessed it several times over. Phrases like "from the river to the sea" and "intifada" and "go back to Poland." Can you imagine? MLSE, you are on the wrong side of history here. But I think you are too woke or too greedy or too dumb to realize that. Or maybe it's all of the above. Now, folks, I did reach out to MLSE spokesman Dave Hageth. I presented him with 6 questions about Scotiabank's Day of Infamy last Tuesday. Here goes. 1. What makes the statement "free our hostages" political? This is in reference to innocent civilians that were taken hostage in Israel last October 7th by the Hamas terrorist organization. This is not a political statement, but rather a humanitarian one. Who at MLSE has decided this phrase is political, and how is it political? 2, if MLSE is maintaining that the Scotiabank Arena is a politics-free zone, then this is a falsehood. MLSE is selectively political. Your organization supports BLM. You had Raptor players take a knee during the national anthems. You staged Pride Nights. You had a pro-Hamas singer sing the national anthem at the NHL All-Star Game last month. Roger Waters had a concert that featured a pig-shaped balloon brandishing a Star of David. I routinely notice political T-shirts in the stands. So why the double standard when it comes to supporting the plight of innocent civilian hostages? 3, on that note, can you imagine a fan going to Madison Square Garden in 1979 wearing the same message imprinted on a sweatshirt regarding the Americans being held hostage by the Iranian regime and then subsequently being threatened by security to remove the garment or vacate the building? What is the difference today regarding the hostages being held captive by Hamas terrorists? 4, I have an encounter caught on video with one of your surly security guards. He told me that if the word "our" was replaced with the word "the," it would no longer be a political statement and the apparel would be allowed. By a cosmic coincidence, a man standing right next to me was wearing a shirt that said "free the hostages" opposed to "free our hostages." When asked if the shirt was indeed okay, he wavered and said he didn't know. So what is the policy? Oh, and by the way, folks, here is the video evidence I speak of.
Why is this a political statement?
You're saying "free our hostages."
Yeah.
Why don't you say "free the hostages"?
Oh, so if it's "the" instead of "our,"
And
it's okay?
nonpartisan, for sure. Yeah, yours is good.
So that's okay.
I don't know.
know.
No, he doesn't know.
Now you don't know.
I don't know.
So you're just making up stuff as you go along.
Actually, here, why don't you take a picture of that?
Oh, sure, I will. Oh, it's like soccer, getting a red card. So are you going to ask me to leave?
5, that very same security guard then gave me a card threatening that I would be expelled from the arena and potentially charged with trespassing. So am I to assume I am no longer welcome at Scotiabank Arena for the heinous crime of asking impolite questions? And finally, 6, would Larry Tanenbaum be available for an on-camera interview? Now, folks, Mr. Tanenbaum, by the way, is a billionaire who owns a sizable stake in MLSE. He is Jewish, and he is allegedly a big supporter of the state of Israel. But Tanenbaum is nowhere to be found these days, at least on this file. Why the silence, Larry? Maybe Tanenbaum has done the math. Maybe he has reached the conclusion that it's not, fiscally prudent to stand up for his fellow Jews these days, given all the demographic shifts. Hey, folks, there's a reason why most billionaires remain billionaires for life. And doing the right thing, well, sometimes that's just not really all that good for the bottom line, is it?
Shame. 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 Shame.
Anyway, I received a 1-sentence response to my 6 queries from Mr. Haggith. Yeah, 1 sentence. Check it out. Quote, David, for your clarification, the venue code of conduct reads, messaging that is deemed to be political and divisive in nature or related to a foreign conflict will not be permitted in MLSE venues, end quote. In any event, I was so pleased to see that the Jews being targeted by the MLSE Gestapo refused to budge. And so it was that these Jewish Raptors fans did not bend to threats of ejection or being charged under the Trespass Act or having the police sicked on them. All of that intimidation failed to move the needle on this night. The security SS was completely flummoxed. They huddled together, fretting over, what to do. Yeah, they wanted those Jews out of the arena, all right, but they were also cognizant that Rebel News was there recording their behavior and that a public relations disaster was looming big time. Bottom line, why doesn't MLSE get out of politics completely instead of selectively embracing woke political causes? Why doesn't this pro-sports conglomerate get back to its prime directive, i.e. winning championships? As for the Raptors, they stink this year, but what makes them real losers is not that they will fail to make the playoffs, but rather that they don't stink enough to get a top draft pick. They lurk in the NBA's version of no man's land, and they will likely dwell in this rancid realm for several seasons to come. Oh, but don't worry, folks. I'm sure there's another Rainbow Pride Night coming along so we can all cheer on the radical transgender agenda. In the final analysis, MLSE makes bucket loads of money. The company is a fiscal winner, to be sure. But on the basketball court and on the hockey rink and on the football gridiron and on the soccer pitch, they are uber losers. And this censorious and woefully woke corporation is also a huge loser when it comes to the human rights file, interpreting free our hostages as being akin to political hate speech. Officially, MLSE stands for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Unofficially, I would argue that this initialism now stands for malodorous losers sucking egregiously. Folks, do you stand with the state of Israel? Clearly, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment does not. If you want to show your support for Israel, please go to our petition. That's CanadaStandsWithIsrael.com. CanadaStandsWithIsrael.com. Be on the right side of history and put your name to that petition.